Now that we've laid down the foundation for identifying details within an informational text to be used as evidence to support a specific claim or statement, let's apply what we have learned through some different informational texts surrounding various topics. So we're going to begin by looking at a passage about narwhals. Let's read over the passage and then see if we can answer the question below. Sometimes called the unicorns of the sea, narwhals are a type of whale. These large and beautiful creatures have a long tusk growing from their heads. The twisted tusk looks just like a unicorn horn, but it's not a horn at all. It is actually a very long tooth that grows into a sword-like spiral tusk that can get up to 8 feet long. Scientists are not sure why narwhals have a tusk. Some scientists think that the narwhals use the tusk to tell how much salt is in the water. But other scientists disagree. Some scientists speculate that the tusk might be useful for finding a mate. Still, other scientists believe the pointy tusk is for breaking up ice on the surface. Scientists have many ideas, but nobody knows for sure. Narwhals remain mysterious creatures because they are difficult to study. First, they spend most of their time under thick ice. Also, narwhals live most happily swimming freely in the ocean, so scientists cannot bring them into an aquarium to study. Scientists have learned a few things about narwhals, though. Narwhals can stay underwater for a long time, using cracks in the ice to come up for air when they need it. Also, narwhals will dive about a mile deep when searching for the kinds of fish and squid they like to eat. While there is still much more to learn about narwhals, one thing is certain. Scientists will keep watching narwhals to learn more about these mysterious whales. Now, we have just been presented with quite a bit of interesting information about narwhals. But let's consider what we are being asked to identify. Our question states, based on the text, what are 2 ideas scientists have for why narwhals have tusks? Our options are: the tusks are used to find a mate, the tusks are used to break ice, the tusks are used to help narwhals talk to each other, or the tusks are used to grind food. Well, our second paragraph deals specifically with the narwhal's tusk and what scientists think the tusk could be used for. All right, so we're told right off that scientists are not sure why narwhals have a tusk, or why narwhals have a tusk, but the reasons that they give for why they think they have them is that the narwhals use the tusk to tell how much salt is in the water. The tusk might be useful for finding a mate. The pointy tusk is for breaking up ice on the surface. And then scientists have many ideas, but nobody knows for sure. So, let's recap the details that we found that scientists think the tusk might be used for. So first, to tell how much salt is in the water, useful for finding a mate, or for breaking up ice. Now, let's look at our answer choices again and see if we can identify which ones serve as the best evidence to support our claim. So first, tusks are used to find a mate. Well, yes, that is mentioned in the text right here, useful for finding a mate. So we know that is definitely one of the reasons scientists give. Tusks are used to break ice. Well, that is also mentioned specifically in the text. So we know that that is also an idea that scientists have. Tusker used to help narwhals talk to each other. That's never mentioned. Used to grind food. That is never mentioned. So our first two options are the best evidence for what scientists think that the narwhal tusks are used for. The passage that we are examining in this example deals specifically with providing us information about an instrument known as the pipa. Let's read through the passage and see what we can learn. The pipa is a stringed instrument that was first brought to China more than 2,000 years ago. During ancient times, the pipa was played with other instruments in performances for the royal court. The pipa was also used in Chinese operas and storytelling. Today, the pipa is most often played alone as a solo instrument. The Chinese word pipa comes from pai, meaning play forward, and pa, meaning play backward. The pear-shaped instrument is made from wood and has 4 strings. The player's right hand pulls at or plucks the strings to make sounds. Meanwhile, the player's left hand presses down on the strings. Pressing down in different places changes how high or low the music sounds. This is similar to how a guitar is played. Back in the day, the pipa was held in a horizontal position across the player's lap. The silk strings were plucked with a triangle-shaped piece called a plectrum, also known as a pick. After some time, musicians began using their fingers to pluck the silk strings. Today, musicians hold the instrument in a different way. It is now held upright in a standing position, and the strings are now made of steel. So musicians pluck the strings using special picks that they place on the tips of their fingers, like long fingernails. So based on this text, we are asked to answer the question, what was the pipa usually played for when it was first brought to China? Our options are weddings and celebrations, operas and storytelling, bands and concerts, and parades and festivals. So, we are told that the pipa was first introduced to China more than 2,000 years ago in our introductory paragraph. All right, and then the paragraph goes on to state that during ancient times it was played with other instruments in performances for the royal court. Okay, so we know that's one of the reasons why it was played. Performances for the royal court. And we're also told that it was used in Chinese operas and storytelling. So these are the 2 reasons that the pipa was played when the instrument was first introduced. So that's what we're answering. What was the pipa usually played for when it was first brought to China? All right, weddings and celebrations, bands and concerts, operas and storytelling, or parades and festivals. Performances for the royal court is not one of our options, but operas and storytelling is. So, the pipa was usually played for operas and storytelling when it was first brought to China. Let's take a look at one more example of identifying details from an informational text by looking at a passage about a famous person. The title of this passage is called Sandra's Day in Court. Now, we are asked to identify who is the text about. So our options are Sandra Day O'Connor, a successful assistant at a law firm; Sandra Day O'Connor, the first female law professor at Stanford; Sandra Day O'Connor, the first female judge on the Supreme Court; or Sandra Day O'Connor, a popular senator from California. Well, obviously we know from the title that it's Sandra's Day in Court. That might actually be a clue. So let's take a look at the passage and see if we can find evidence to tell us who Sandra Day O'Connor was. Before 1981, there had never been a woman on the United States Supreme Court. For almost 200 years, the judges on that highest court were all men. Sandra Day O'Connor changed that. And then the rest of the passage goes on to provide us more information about who Sandra Day O'Connor was. But if we look at our introductory paragraph, we are told who this is about. The author is introducing us to Sandra Day O'Connor, who was the first woman on the United States Supreme Court. So who is the text about? Well, we know it's about Sandra Day O'Connor. But if we look at the third option, the first female judge on the Supreme Court. So this passage is providing us with information about our first female Supreme Court justice, named Sandra Day O'Connor.